Welcome to week 5 of 9, round 9 of 18, the halfway point of the EGFC League of Legends second season. My name is Counterfeit.
And my name is Shinkari.
Well, we're excited to be here as part of the EGF production team and also bring you another fantastic day of the League of Legends. But before we're able to get into things properly, we have some business to address.
If you've tuned in tonight, don't forget what next week. Next week, there's even more to see. Every Monday to Thursday, you can tune into the official EGF Twitch page at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more EGFC games.
On Monday, FIFA, Tuesday, Smash Brothers, Wednesday, Rocket League, and Overwatch on Thursday before coming back on Saturday for even more League of Legends.
And one more thing before we start, if you haven't already, make sure to follow EGF on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram under all of the same magnificent handle at official EGF.
All right, with all of that out of the way, let's get on to our League of Legends. And Curry, who's up to bat here today?
Tonight we have two games, as always. Butler University versus University of Connecticut, starting in just a few moments. Actually, starting right now, we are getting into Champ Select. And St. John's University versus Villanova University at 2:30 Eastern Time. If you're looking for Seton Hall versus Georgetown University, that's on the other channel, official EGF. But you know what? Keep us open like a new tab so that you're still watching us too, because we're pretty great also. So, Counterfeit, let's go over to the tournament for any. Let's go over the tournament for any new viewers.
Yeah, so we're going to be playing it, as we mentioned, we're more than halfway through the competition, doing double round robin best of ones. But I think we're going to need to catch up with what's going on, because they're already thrown out so many bans.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Olaf, Victor, and Seraphine banned here away for the University of Connecticut, and Butler's going to ban away Thresh, Udyr, and Hecarim. This doesn't look like anything super out of the ordinary. I think these are mostly some very strong picks. Oh, I have some words to say about that Vel'Koz pick, but I'm a huge... First off, I'm not a huge fan of the Olaf ban. It has been a pretty contested pick throughout the entire season, but Olaf has received a lot of nerfs to his own kit, as well as the items that he builds around, and some other champions have popped up in the jungle to kind of like fill the role that he had. So not really a huge fan there. Over on the other side, Udyr, about the same feeling. Udyr is still a relatively easy champion to play, and with Chem Tank is still a pretty strong champion. But overall, I think like he's received some nerfs as well, and some better champions like Skarner have popped up into the meta for the jungle to get some better bans. But Vel'Koz being picked up for University of Connecticut here, and Butler picking up Misfortune and Vladimir. And I want to talk about this Vel'Koz really quick, because Hydra has 49 games and 53% win rate on Vel'Koz this season so far. And you'd be like, okay, that's not really too much. Like if you're one trick a champion, usually you have a lot more games on there. He does, let's say 130 games in season 8. He's got 256 games in season 9 and 305 games in season 10. Hydra really knows how to play Vel'Koz, and this is just... I am super excited for this Vel'Koz pick. Ornn and Ashe also being picked up for University of Connecticut here.
So, yes, we've got the Misfortune of the Vladimir over there for the Bulldogs. Something which I'm kind of surprising to see missing. It hasn't been banned, and I was double checking to make sure that hasn't been the case. For Lundstorm, they are a Kai'Sa main, but neither team decided to go for the Kai'Sa here. The Misfortune and Ashe instead.
Yeah, it's definitely with patch 11.4. Icathian Rain has been nerfed for Kai'Sa, which puts her at a little bit of a disadvantage. Basically, everything about Icathian Rain was nerfed, and it kind of, and with especially with buffs to Jinx, as well as buffs to Ginsu's Rageblade, we're seeing a lot. I'm at least predicting a little bit of a shift towards more attack speed heavy champions, as opposed to just like straight Kai'Sa and Jhin, who are more kind of just like big damage dealers, I should say. This is also somewhat of a comfort pick for, I believe, Almarex, who plays a decent chunk of these kind of attack speed champions. It's weird back and forth. Ashe is still a very strong pick regardless. Lots of utility for the team, very strong initiation tool, especially when you're following up Ornn. So I think it's a relatively strong pick regardless. Lilia Graves and Rel now being banned as well as the last ban for University of Connecticut is coming into this game right now.
Yeah, one more ban to go. We haven't had a chance yet to talk about the Galio pickup for Butler coming into for the Bulldogs here. Certainly coming into this one, it's been a much better showing in recent times for the Bulldogs than it has been for UConn.
Yeah, it's Bulldogs is sitting 6-0-2 right now, and they're coming off of a win, whereas University of Connecticut is coming off of a loss at sitting at 5-0-3. So this is definitely a game that, looking at the stats, Butler is kind of poised to win, but there are still some strong picks coming up, still on the table for University of Connecticut. There's still the Yumi that's available, which is a game that's a character that Super Slayer is very good on. And in the previous game that I casted, oh, there it is. There it is. Are we going to get it? Are we getting the Yumi?
Right.
3, 2, 1. Yeah, let's go.
We're talking about mains, then that's definitely another huge pickup here for UConn in their disadvantaged game. Yep. Super Slayer, a Yumi main by miles in the same fashion that Hydra is a Vel'Koz one trick as well.
Yeah, 58 games on Yumi this season, 55% win rate, 110 games in season 10 and a little bit more than 80 in season 9. This is someone who knows Yumi, and in the past, Super Slayer, once again, like when we had him in for an interview, he was like, yeah, we thought they were going to ban the Yumi, and the second that Yumi was available, I immediately took it. So this is a very strong pick for Super Slayer here. He's very confident on the Yumi, and I'm excited to see Ashe and Yumi in the bot lane, because being able to follow up Ashe's slows with a very, very strong ultimate is insanely good. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. The last picks here are Irelia and Jarvan and Sejuani. Sejuani is an interesting pick to me. Usually folks do it as like a cheeky counter pick to Seraphine. I don't really see Sejuani in a lot of Son of One's match history. Not to the point where he hasn't practiced, but not so much as like this is like a super comfort pick. But like a lot of folks with the nerfs to experience and gold in the jungle have kind of moved away from like these power farmers like Udyr, like Olaf, and moved closer to champions that can gank around level 2 and 3 and try to get their experience that way. And that's what we're seeing here with Jarvan and Sejuani. So this will definitely be an interesting jungle matchup for sure. Irelia being thrown in the mid lane definitely is a counter to Vel'Koz. As even though it's a ranged versus melee matchup, Irelia has a lot of burst damage and can sometimes get close to Vel'Koz, despite his kiting utility. Because Vel'Koz is a very immobile champion. The only real tool he has in order to disengage is that knockback that he has.
All right, so let's talk. We've got some very, very powerful picks in here for University of Connecticut. But we have got some ones as well sneaking through for the Bulldogs that they've been very strong on. Mac has been seen a lot on the Vladimir recently, kind of working their way into the pool of a otherwise Ornn main. And for Lundstorm, in the Bulldogs game last week, where it didn't go so well for them, Lundstorm was the one bastion of their team that they could rely on, who still did decently well in a game that was otherwise a disaster.
Yeah, Misfortune, very, very strong pick, especially with Jarvan and Vladimir, and also Galio. This whole team is just trying to give Lundstorm the best possible ultimates that they possibly can. So there's a lot of really, really great ultimates here that University of Connecticut are going to have to watch out for.
So just to catch you guys up, since we came into this game a little bit quickly as to what these teams have been, up to. So for the Bulldogs, as mentioned, they had a pretty rough run of things against DePaul last week. DePaul's jungler Reaper ran over them, and King Amazing in the bottom lane as well for DePaul ruined absolutely everything on Kai'Sa. Lundstorm was the player who was able to hold strong for them, so we certainly have high expectations that they will at least do the same here this week.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely a game that, at least looking at the numbers, that the Bulldogs have a little bit of an advantage just because of win rate. 6-0-2 up against 5-0-3. But I'm definitely I want to hand it over to University of Connecticut. Whenever I see them play, I'm very impressed. And this is they have to them two champions that they are insanely good on. So I am really, really looking forward to this game.
All right, let's take a quick look. Actually, we have got some a special present from the Bulldogs. Let's take a look at their actual faces of the players here today. So they have let us know here. So hopefully this will help give you the steely gaze. You see the expression on the Bulldogs' faces that they've done pretty darn well, especially compared to how UConn's performance has been recently. So looking at these faces, looking at this level of determination, you think this is going to be a good game here for the Dogs?
Oh yeah, for sure. They're raring to go. Man, big fan of Levi here. Levi probably has the biggest gaze out of all of them. I'm gonna have to give it to Levi here.
All right, guys. So we're about to get into our first of our two games here today. Let's take a little moment out to talk about the universities. We'll catch you guys on the other side. Welcome back, one and all, to Big East and to the first of our two games here this evening. UConn against the Bulldogs, who've been doing it fantastically so far this season. For UConn, it's been pretty rough recently. This will be a great chance for them to turn things around as we're getting close to the halfway mark of the season.
And already off the bat, we are a minute and 20 into this game already. Just the only thing you really missed was some warding being placed in the red side jungles, just to spot out the pathing of the junglers here. So this is pretty standard starts across the board, nothing too out of the ordinary. Usually Jarvan does start red instead of blue, just because the attack damage is a little bit better for him. But yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary just yet. But we do get to see Hydra and Super Slayer on their preferred champion, so this will definitely be a fun match to watch. And I guess we have a little bit of a lane swap here. Butler, Mac, and Levi have swapped lanes, so it's going to be Irelia versus the Ornn and Vladimir versus the Vel'Koz in the mid lane.
As we said, this has been a pick that Mac has been picking up recently, as it's Levi trading extremely aggressively into Joy Noobs. Are they going to go for a tower dive? 2 minutes.
Oh,
nicely done.
No, Mike. Yeah, that was a really, really good first blood. This is exactly what you want to be doing on Irelia in the early game. You want to be pressing your advantage against these champions that are going to build straight armor, that are going to counter you in the mid game by just kind of shutting them down in these early 1 to 3 levels where they don't have as much armor value as they would later in the game. So for Joey Noobs, he's going to have to play a lot safer. He's going to have to build up these armor items. And for Ornn, that's pretty easy to do considering he can basically shop anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage, and certainly later on as well, we've got the ornaments coming into the mix to provide that late game promise for UConn. But for now, Joey Noobs falling behind on the CS. We'll be able to make up some of the difference as we will have the recall and picking up an early call for Levi.
Yeah, that's an interesting pickup for me. I don't know if you want to be building a cull on Irelia, especially when you want to be pressing an advantage against a champion that's trying to scale. I mean, cull is the scaling item. You kill 100 minions and then you're able to sell it back for full price. I mean, it's just it's a weird pickup for me. For me, I'm seeing like, okay, if I see a cull, I'm like, okay, I want to go to the late game, I want to farm. But you're up against Ornn, possibly one of the best late game tanks in the game. Ooh, we have a Hink in the mid lane though.
Doesn't lead to any kills. Well, the teleport very early on. That was an emergency call there for the Butler squad. Ultimately, Mac didn't get dive for MGL. Will find a son of one. And he pointed out the early jungler pressure here as they go against each other. Mojo Romo making the major roams, but not quite there in time to force the 2v1.
Yeah, these are some pretty good calls from Butler, like trying to push their pressure on the map early so that they can try to outscale the Vel'Koz. Oh my god, no!
That was bizarre. So Mojo Robo saw that Son of One was getting taken out by the creeps and almost flashed it in time to pick up a second kill for Butler.
Yeah, and this is kind of the tune of this early game here. Butler is making some good calls, but they're a smidgen bit too late. And it's a little awkward because of it. We're going to go into a pause right here as we have a bit of a connection issue.
So we don't have any information at this point whether or not that's had anything to do with UConn's woes in the early going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
But I mean, Levi going that aggressive onto Joey Noobs early on, that's certainly without question.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that is exactly what you want to be doing on Irelia. Especially in these sort of matchups. If the tank is able to stay even with you in terms of gold and CS, then you are going to fall behind just because of the amount of stats that Ornn is able to generate. Ornn gets additional armor stats from the items that he builds. So even if you're even on gold, you're even on CS, you're even on kills and assists, and you have maybe one completed item and boots between the two of you, Ornn will have more stats. Ornn will just be more tanky than you every day of the week just because of that passive. And also the ornaments as well, especially considering, level 13 and forward. Like, this is just a game where Irelia needs to be ahead in order to exert any sort of pressure in the top lane.
All right, since we've got a little bit of a moment before it looks like Joey Noobs reconnects to the game, let's just catch you guys up on... Oh, no, never mind. Forget everything I was going to say. Let's get back into the action because Butler don't want to wait. They've got that early kill locked down for Levi in the top rather than their more traditional mid lane roles. Hydra of the huge promise that Vel'Koz one trick so far is struggling against Max Vladimir.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly where you want to be. This is another champion that you want to be bullying early. Ooh, Butler going for the dragon here. This is actually pretty... Yeah, they do have priority mid and bot, so this is a pretty safe call from them. It's really, really early, though, but Jarvan does have a decent chunk of damage. So it should... Uh-oh, is it resetting? Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, they should be fine here. Oh, looks like there's a bit of a scuffle in the top lane, though.
Yeah, Levi still aggressing onto Joey. As mentioned before, the Carl certainly not providing too much in the way of additional offensive power, but certainly should make any domination in the top lane a little bit more monetarily rewarding.
Yeah, and this is once again, I can say this for days. Continue doing this. Just keep going. If you want to have success in the top lane, just keep bullying that Ornn for as much as you possibly can. That's exactly what you want to be doing 100% of the time.
We can see there that there's a fairly substantial goal lead built up for Levi on the top. Down the bottom as well for Butler, they managed to get a dominating CS advantage, which will be a little bit ameliorated there, but it's in the mid as well. It's Max continuing to put pressure onto Hydra, so all three lanes so far, all in favor of Butler.
Yeah, and this is where the gold lead is coming from. We saw the first blood, we saw the dragon, and now we're seeing gold leads just from farming coming out. And this is how Butler is just using their advantage at this point. So as long as they continue to do, oh man, we're having another connection issue here. I'm just gonna finish up my thought of as long as Butler continues to this kind of lead that they have going on here, they should be able to press it into the mid game. And if they're able to win the mid game, then they should be able to finish this game long before University of Connecticut is able to scale and get to a point where they can win anymore.
I mean, this was a big night for UConn potentially. They've had a really rough time of things since the start of the season. They won 3 games in a row against Friars, St. John's, and Marquette. But since then, of the last 4 games they've played, they have lost 3 of them. So they really are trending in a downwards direction. And they seem to be continuing that trend in this game if they can't turn things around, even with 2 of their favorite picks in hand.
Yeah, I'm not going to count them out just yet. I mean, The farming being behind is just a difference of I think lane power at this stage of the game. I think that Misfortune is just a little bit better than Ashe early, and Galio exerts a lot more pressure than Yumi does, and especially with the amount of follow up that can happen. So that playing safe and playing a little bit farther back is to not die is kind of what University of Connecticut might be looking to do here, especially with Jarvan as well. Like there hasn't been a whole lot of wards that University of Connecticut has been able to play. Place into their the opposing jungle. So this is once again, it's just looking like more just defensive plays from them. They're not able to really aggress as much as they'd like just because of the scaling that they need to be doing.
No, I think it does make a lot of sense to try and avoid. I mean, we've already seen that for Butler, they've had Mojo roaming up. We've had MGL trying to get up in Son of One's business, in the early games. So it certainly seems like, as much as the early fights indicate this, Butler are absolutely looking for a scrap early on. And, well, maybe only having one death is all right for UConn based on that.
Yeah, and seeing, I think the other thing that's great is that you play that after that one death, you see your lane opponent come back with a cull. If you die early and see your lane opponent come back with a cull, you're like, oh, great. And it might as well be just level 1 all over again. There's no difference in combat stats. So, they can continue trading if they want, even if it's fairly even. And even in some cases, especially as we see Joey Noobs just trying to build more defensive items. He's sitting on a ruby crystal now. That is going to be the difference between life and death a lot of the times. And, being able to also build into what I assume is going to be a Bomby Cinder means that he might have just more combat stats than the Irelia does and might be able to turn these fights into his favor.
Well, it's not just a cull for Levi up in the top lane that has not got the combat stats. It's also a very early pickup for the Mercury treads. So 2 non-offensive items for Levi, despite having the CS lead and the kill in hand.
Yeah, it's also a little awkward because really, if Irelia is really worried about CC, I think the most amount that she's going to get out of the tenacity is going to be from the enchanted crystal arrow and also the root from Yumi. Besides that, or there's also a stun from Sejuani in her passive and also in her ultimate. I think the big thing here is, man, there's just so many knockups on the University of Connecticut. You have the clap. You have from Ornn. You have the knockup. You have from not only the Ornn horn, but from colliding into the pillar as well. You have the Sejuani knockup as well. You have the knockup from Vel'Koz. Like, there's not a whole lot that this tenacity is going to do for you, and maybe you're trying to itemize against the magic damage that Ornn does, and in which case, like, maybe you're more of looking for this to be like a mid-game pickup, but it just seems like an interesting pick to me because I'm fairly certain Irelia just has tenacity built into her kit.
All right, it looks like our players are about to get back into things, so just while we'll try and sneak this through. Nope. Okay, I'm going to do it right now. While we've got a moment before the game really kicks back off again, let's talk a little bit about what the teams are trying to do overall, because I'm seeing a lot of AoE from the Butler side of things, but also somewhat from UConn as well.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to make Vel'Koz their damage dealer as opposed to Butler trying to push their luck with Misfortune here. I'm a huge fan of just like making these 2 5v5 team fight comps here because I am super excited about this. Is you get a lane swap? Interesting. Right. Okay. This very early lane swap is interesting indeed. I'm not sure how to feel about it because it's swapping the mid and the bot as opposed to usually the top and the bot. It's really interesting, especially with putting Vladimir in the bottom lane. I'm not sure how I feel about it, just because usually you want to put like you want to keep your mid laners who are usually immobile in the mid lane so that they have the shortest lane. Obviously, the side lanes are a lot longer than the mid lane, and the reason you're putting your mages there is because they usually don't have as many mobility tools as they would normally, and you want them to have more access to the map. But obviously, this is a pick so that they can rotate to the Rift Herald, which they are starting up right now.
Yeah, we seem to have a very firm game plan here from the Bulldogs playing the red team this time round. You know, as I said, right onto that Herald. You can see there's good vision around the Herald. So they seem like they're seeking to get a ton of advantages early on. And I guess we will see where that Herald ends up going.
Yeah, and this is what you usually want to do when you have a 5v5 team comp. You want to be pressuring objectives as much as possible and forcing team fights around them. And the problem is that since Butler are controlling the tempo of this game, and University of Connecticut is just late to a lot of these switches. I mean, even I was late to the switch. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but we do have a little bit of a scuffle in the top lane.
It's worth noting that Levi was the one to pick up the Eye of Doom, the Rift Herald buff there. So it's not going onto the jungler for the that maximum map mobility. Is the bot lane for Butler, they move back to the mid lane. And we've got a bit of a reset here. It looks like maybe a gank towards the top, though, because MGL is here trying to take out noobs. There's the stun. There's a follow-up CC, and locked inside the Cataclysm. The Forge God will be coming as Levi gets knocked up on the outside, but I think 1v2, it's no question who's going to win.
Yeah, that's exactly where MGL wants to be, especially if Levi is holding on to Shelly here. You want to be able to continue to pressure Ornn, because Ornn scales really well with items as opposed to levels. So you want to be able to deny him as much gold as possible, and you also want to be able to press the advantage with that with the Rift Herald here. So being able to remove Ornn from lane, being able to pick up some gold and some plates with Shelly, it's a very easy gank, very easy Shelly right there.
Yeah, the charge of the Rift Herald in means that we've got a major gold advantage for the Bulldogs coming past 10 minutes time. Over 2,000 gold in pocket. If we could see the scoreboard up for a second and check where all that gold is going. We actually do see, you mentioned before for UConn, that they were waiting for a little bit later on in the game. Hydra is now winning out these trades with Max Vladimir.
Yeah, he is also sitting on a Dark Seal, which I'm not entirely on board with, but like usually folks get that early just because it gives you just a little bit more health with your pots, but it doesn't do that anymore. So it's just a little awkward to see as we have a bit of a scuffle in the top lane here, and red team's gonna pick up Dragon.
Yeah, that's their second Dragon lockdown, so maybe that Hydra not able to push entirely Mac out of lane. As this bottom lane transition is now going to be matched by UConn here. They bring their own bottom lane into the mid to try and equalize the pressure.
Yeah, and I think that's why Butler's bot lane is still here. Like, University of Connecticut tried to match the lane swap a little late, and then once they were there, like, the Rift Herald had already been taken, and then they just kind of stayed there. I'm not exactly sure. Oop, more scuffle in the top lane.
Yeah, Joey Noobs is in trouble. Has got to get through the ult, but Levi now on a killing spree. Every single kill in their hands. Mac will get locked down. There's no help coming. And this is going to be Nogoromo, and it's going to be too late, I think, into the pool. Flashing away, but there we go. The Life Bomb Disintegration Ray. First kill in here for UConn.
Yeah, and that's going to help them get on the board, and especially funneling gold. And one kill onto the Dark Seal with the Vel'Koz here. He's now catching up in gold here, and the first turret is going to be claimed in the top lane. No surprises here with how much pressure Levi has been pushing onto this lane. Ojoroma looking for something. He's just gonna back off.
Yeah, it's too slippery, even with the Ashe. Amrex, of course, as I mentioned before, both of our bottom laners here have been rocks for their teams under very trying circumstances. Hydra, we can see there, is actually getting some tower plating down as the TP is coming in behind them. Levi's looking for the kill down in the bottom lane. I think Hydra is going to likely get away. No, there we go.
Yep.
Hydra's just in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and this is exactly what you want to be seeing. I think early game Butler was making some like was making some mid-game calls at like 2 minutes into the game, was a little late to the party a couple times, but this is exactly what you want to be seeing from a team that plays almost exclusively 5v5 ranks. So this is definitely some very, very good macro play from them. And it's also very good that once you have your top laner unlocked, that they are going to the other lanes and pressing their advantage. This is very good play from Levi here.
Yeah, great macro play, great objective focus. Butler will be forced to flash away, though, as Yukon seem to have arrived on the play, making plays in mid and bottom at the same time. MGL and Mojiromo will be waiting out a couple more minutes before we can see another Drake taken, but Yukon are starting to seem a little bit more confident in our first game of the day.
Oh yeah, we're starting to see a mythic item come out from Vel'Koz here, so he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with that Luden's Tempest. So this is definitely something to worry about for the side of Butler here. They might have had the early game, but as we're getting closer and closer, as we're getting deeper into the mid game here, they're definitely need to be worried about this team finishing up their mythic items. Ooh, we might see something finished from now. He's gonna interrupt it. I was really excited to see what Ornn was finishing, even though I probably know it's a Sunfire Aegis.
So, well, I mean, if we're talking about people who've been able to rack up a lot of items, if you're the Bulldogs here, you've gotten 4 kills, but they're all on the same person. The bottom lane's slightly ahead. You've got objective control so far. You've got the first tower. This will be your second Rift tower coming through. What are you anticipating coming next for the Bulldogs if they're going to try and extend their early aggression?
They're gonna need to make sure that they're gonna need to say that as I struggle with English this morning for some reason. Jeez.
It's a silly language.
Yeah, it is a silly language. Whoever decided silent P's should be a thing. Besides the point, they should really need to make sure that Levi is roaming into these other lanes. He has been doing that so far, which is great, 100%. And that's the big reason why they have this 4K gold lead. A lot of it is on him. And if he's not helping out these other lanes, then it's not going to be just it's not going to be as big as the lead as they want. Ooh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out here. There might be a fight.
Osho goes in for the Stellar Life for a bit more crowd control to enable the ult of the Misfortune. Non-stop with a ton of damage across as Mac has got the chase on. Amrex is already down very, very low, but looks like they will be able to just get away. No! Non-stop with the off-screen kill. The second kill there for Levi. Yukon sets up the play, but it's going to be Butler who reap the rewards.
Yeah, 2 for 1 in favor. Oh my god!
That damage is absurd! Hydra across the wall looking for the second kill. They will not find it. That was a bold play, but it's left Yukon in shambles, and they will concede a third straight without reply.
Yeah, 2 for 1s is not what you want to be seeing as University of Connecticut, as the gold lead from Butler just continues. Joey Noob's now the target.
Tell me if you've seen this one before. Levi dives the tower, gets killed, and now he's chasing down for Almarex. Looking for that shot, doesn't have the arrow quite yet. There's the kill of the other one. Away, Almarex. By just enough the hell practice once more.
Yeah, that is a huge swing in Butler's favor. And when I was talking about all the gold only being on Levi, I mean that continues. But the rest of the team is now reaping the benefits. They grabbed a turret, they grabbed a dragon, they grabbed 4 kills, and now they're getting a huge amount of damage onto this inner turret here. And this is exactly what Butler needed to do. They needed to take the gold that was on Levi and translate that into benefits for the whole team, and they did exactly that with that dragon play. University of Connecticut setting up the plays like they wanted to, and it started out looking great, but you know there was an issue with play. For me, it looked like a little bit of a mechanical issue with the Ornn Horn, because immediately Joey Noobs wanted to follow up with that play but couldn't, because he needed to follow up he needed to get the second half of the Ornhorn, and he needed to back up all the way into Butler's jungle in order to even headbutt the ram to save Almarex, which wasn't even successful either. Misfortune was still able to pick up the kill. And then Hydra getting a huge amount of damage on the Vel'Koz. Really, really great. But then he flashed over the wall to try to kill Vladimir, who was pretty low HP, and ended up missing 2 abilities and immediately died from that. And because of that, Super Slayer was left alone for Levi to jump over the wall and pick up a free cat. And that's definitely what you don't want to be doing if you have a Yuumi with you. You don't want to be making these super aggressive plays.
All right, so after all is said and done, we're coming close to 20 minutes now. Butler, they've been doing everything that they can to try and press their advantage. They've got a Trinity Force up there for Levi, along with that Blade of the Ruined King. They are ridiculously strong at 7 kills. You see Butler, they're still fighting to try and grab as much territory for Yukon as possible and starve them out of jungle creeps as well.
Yeah, once again, this is still a game that University of Connecticut could come back into. They are the game that they are the comp that scales a lot better into the late game. Like I said, Vel'Koz, Ashe, Ornn, these are all champions that scale really well, and Ornn can also upgrade mythic items as well. So this is something that Butler, if they want to win, they have to close out soon and not give advantages to Butler or to Connecticut as much as possible as the fight is starting around the blue buff.
Yukon, they could find their way back into this one, but they've got Levi to deal with. They go charging forwards, looking to lock down the kill onto Hydra. Hydra can't quite get through the door of the base as Levi grabs another kill. Amrex trying to pour out the damage, but Levi's just too damn strong. Amrex still stays up and alive with 2 members down. It's looking like Yukon, this is the worst time to lose that fight with the Baron just spawning in.
Yeah, that's 2 kills for none in favor of Butler here. They set up that house, they brought the bounce, and they brought the kills. The bounce house comp is looking really, really strong right now, especially with the 9-0-1 Irelia.
I mean, just in that last fight, Yukon were putting up one hell of a defense, but Levi just chewed through it, just walked all the way through with the tenacity, with the dashes. It felt like there just wasn't any way to stop them.
Yeah, it's just really, really tough for University of Connecticut right now. They need to play as defensively as possible and try to stem the bleeding. But now with Butler, this very well coordinated macro team with a Baron buff is going to be very, very hard for them to stem the bleeding on, as we start to see Dragon spawning in just a little bit. 20 seconds left on this Dragon spawn.
This may be Yukon's final chance to win a fight. Or they'll end up having a double. Well, they've got the Baron buff to contend with, and then they're going to have a Mountain Soul, making it even tougher to take down Levi. You can see that Yukon, they are setting up for a potential fight here. We've seen how devastating Hydra's laser can be.
Yeah, this is going to be University of Connecticut have to look for a steal here. They can't win an open 5v5, but they might have found out Levi here.
And Levi flash away. There's all the crowd control. The entirety of Yukon's being pushed towards, keeping Levi away from the fight. They turn back towards the Drake, but it may be too late. The Drake is already down to a quarter health, but Levi's not here. It comes to still they get it! They will take the misfortune up to the face as the rest of Butler. There's Mac taking a laser, and Hydra locks down the kill. For University of Connecticut, they'll have to give up some of their own members in return. But Levi making it back to the fight means it's never going to be a good ending there. Moved out. It was a Mountain Soul fought dearly.
Yeah, it's a really good pickup for them. That was a really good swing in their favor, and they were able to pick up a kill in that team fight. The problem is losing 2 members and spending so many resources trying to keep Levi out of the fight. While it was a good idea on paper, Levi had teleport up, and even if you push him all the way into the top corner of the map, as long as there is a ward on Dragon, he's might as well be a dragon, albeit just a couple seconds late. And they used Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They used the glacial bolas. They used They use the Ornhorn. They use so much in order just to keep Levi away from the fight. And then when it came time to finally stand and deliver on a 4v5, they had nothing left. They had Vel'Koz laser, and they had Yuumi, and they had the Yuumi spellbook, but you have to be close range in order for the snare to land, and you need to be fairly close for that laser, and you need people to be CC'd in order for that laser to deal a significant amount of damage. Connecticut was able to get some advantages here, but I don't know how much of worth it was, as they also did lose that inner mid lane turret.
I mean, it was, it was bought in blood for University of Connecticut. I have to imagine at this point, just getting to see 30 minutes in this game is going to be one hell of an achievement. As at least, as a result of that whole series of fights there, Butler didn't actually get to use their Baron buff for very much.
Yeah, that's also the kind of the important part, is that they were able to take the bot outer turret, and they were able to take the mid inner turret, which is not a lot what you want to be seeing when you have the Baron buff. You really want to be doing a 1-3-1, and Butler was really in a position to do that, and actually has a pretty good 1-3-1. They have Misfortune, they have Jarvan and Galio in the mid for a decent chunk of wave clear. Then they have Vladimir and Irelia both with teleport in the sides, who also have pretty good wave clear as well. But it looks like they're doing it now instead of before with the Baron buff, and Mac might actually be able to pick up the bot inner turret for basically free. That's actually a really great pickup for him.
The only thing I'm noticing here from Butler, as much as they're doing incredibly well, is it's still, they've got 13 kills, 10 of them are on a single member, so everybody else on the squad presumably is comparably strong to the opposite number on the Yukon side.
Yeah. Oh man, Levi might be going in onto Hydra here.
Hydra going back under the tower, trying to save themselves. The arrow! Beautiful combo crowd control, but we have got the save from the Galio. Levi under the tower will get rooted. This is a huge pickup, 1,000 gold for Alvarex, as Joey Noob tries to hold the line at the center of the base. For Yukon, they had to give up Hydra, but they got a ton more out of it.
Yeah, that 1-for-1 is 100% worth it. Even though they're losing a turret here, that's a huge chunk of gold going on to Almarex here, as Son of One looking for something as well.
Mac dancing away as MGL holds place. Almrek is so very low. Joey Noobs, I don't know if they've got the damage to finish the job off here. They get the knockup, looking for the deletion, but while that's going on, the Misfortune, Lonstorm is coming through and clearing up the rest of the squad. We're only 25 minutes in, despite the fact that Bulldog's being in the base, so those death timers are not long.
Yeah, it's what started off as a really great pickup for Connecticut. I mean, in a vacuum, being able to pick up the kill on the Levi sounds great. 1,000 gold being put onto your AD carry sounds incredible. But the trade-off that they had to do was not only losing Hydra, but they also lost their mid inhibitor turret and also their inhibitor as well. So this is going to be a lot harder for University of Connecticut to contest this last Earth Drake coming up here, which is once again soul point for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Yukon managed to steal away the Drake before. You have to imagine that it's going to be one hell of a task to do it once again. We've still got, we've now managed to diversify for the Bulldogs. Their damage now coming from Lundstorm as well, 4, 1, and 4. So it's not just a single threat composition anymore for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, this is just a huge swing in the Bulldogs' favor, and it looks like with that TP, Connecticut wants to be the ones initiating the fight, and there's the arrow.
MGL. Keep your eyes out for Levi in this fight because they're still ridiculously strong. Joey Noobs gets ripped to pieces. Mojoromo nearly falls down to Son of One, but this is a straight fight that Yukon were trying to avoid before, and the results might be a little bit predictable. TP coming in with the super minion. This could be it here and now. Hydra keeping away, but Levi's so very strong. There's the Mountain Soul. Now Hydra has to do even more damage to keep the wolves from the door.
Yeah, this is just going to be an easy win here, I think. It's 3 versus 5, and oh no, they're not even letting Son of One back. So Mojo Romo doing the best he can just to keep one person out of the base, making it a 4v2, maybe to pick up the win, but looks like everyone is just, from Butler, is just going to back away here.
I mean, it feels like the smallest of opportunities is... Yeah, we're going to see another Baron taken here. The gold lead for Butler is ludicrous. They've got the Mountain Soul. They've got everything they could possibly want. It does feel like that was a game they could have ended then and there, but apparently they want to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just... I think this Baron is BM. I feel like they could have just ended the game off of that kill. 5 versus 3 would have been an easy take-up, especially with Earth Soul. This is just nail in the coffin. Let's get last nail in the coffin. Let's pick up Baron buff. We got super minions pushing in on the base. Like, this couldn't be... There's no way that the University of Connecticut can finish this, can defend us now.
So looking for the 2% chance for UConn here that somehow this goes horrendously wrong. But yeah, all the cards, the deck stacked, the odds stacked in the favor of the Bulldogs here. They certainly seem like they want to head into the second half of the season with a compelling win. Levi is still up with 11 kills. The final fight is here for UConn. They can at least keep the minions away for the time being, but that power's going to fall in the short order there. So I think the French trade goes down very low. Getting up into the tail end of the fight, as it's going to be, I think, an inevitable demise here. Flashing back onto the path, and Levi grabs hold of Super Slayer. The Nexus is going to fall, and that is all she wrote.
Yeah, that was a very clean game by Butler. Very, very well played by them. The very early game looked a little shaky. There were some strange calls. There was definitely a teleport wasted fairly early on. There was a couple flashes spent, but this was definitely a game very, very well played by the Butler Bulldogs. And really got to hand it to them. Like, they played this game insanely well, and I got to hand it to Levi as well. Levi ending the game is 12-1-4. Definitely the MVP of the game for me. Doing what he needed to do by winning that lane early in the top lane against Ornn, being able to pressure him before he gets any huge items, and then being able to take that gold and bring it to the other lanes. Remember, top laners, if you think your lane is an island and you go 3-0 in the beginning of the game and don't go anywhere else, you might as well be throwing your advantage away. So very, very well played by the Bulldogs. GG's to them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely ludicrous. And because, you know, we will be having a word with the mid laner of the squad, Levi, in a few moments' time. But just before we get them in, you know, to talk a little bit about UConn, you know, for me, were there any particular points which you were identifying, Shikari, as, you know, where it went the most dramatically wrong?
I mean... man, I don't think there's anything that's like absolutely 100% that was wrong, right? Because there are a couple, like, there's not one real tipping point, right? There's not, I would say, if there was one, I would say there was a fight around Dragon Pit where University of Connecticut had found out Mojo Romo and was trying to get the kill, and the team from Butler immediately responded. They were following up, and Almarex was trying to kite away with Super Slayer, and then Joey Noobs was too far away because of the Ornhorn placement in order to follow up and continue following with his team in order to protect his AD carry. You know, if Ornn has to get that second headbutt in order to find that that knockup, but if you're not anywhere near the team, that's possibly your body is possibly more valuable than the big goat that you're headbutting at the enemy team. So there's an awkward moment there, and then there was also just not being able to deal with Levi once he got his lead. You know, I was a little on the fence about his cull pickup, but he was super confident in the lead that he had already over Ornn. And, you know, we'll talk about it in just a little bit when we get him in here, but Levi just turning the gold that he had won in the top lane into gold for the rest of his team. I kept saying this over and over again, but that's basically the tipping point for this game, I would say.
Well, let's not wait any longer. Let's get Levi in here, because I mean, this is a performance that's definitely worth acknowledging. I mean, that was probably, yeah, one of the most horrendous beings I think we've seen given out for anyone for quite a long time there. You know, we say when someone has an 8-kill game, that they've done incredibly well there. But for Levi, I mean, that was just something else entirely.
Yeah, for sure. Hello,
right,
Levi. Welcome to the interview desk. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great. I mean, that was an incredible game by your whole team. But for me, as probably some of y'all heard on stream, I'm giving you MVP for that game. Do you think that? Do you agree with that? How do you?
Well, I mean, I played pretty well, but at the end of the game, League of Legends is a team game, and I probably can't 1v5 that game, so everyone else on my team has to play really well too. So, I mean, you can give me MVP all you want, but to me, it's just a team win, and that's what matters.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. That's real great. So, tell me. Yeah. Connor, go ahead.
So, Levi, I think one of the things that was really caught our attention, to go right back to the champ select was, what was the reasoning for you guys letting Hydra and Super Slayer go on to their one tricks this game?
Well, when we were talking about draft last night, we knew that they really liked Vel'Koz, and we knew that Vlad was pretty good into Vel'Koz, and we've been practicing Vlad a lot this week for a couple reasons. So we're like, we're just gonna play Vlad into Vel'Koz, and we did. And then we got to our last pick, and I was like, just give me Irelia and Orin, because they can't win this game if I'm on Irelia. So it was just kind of like, it didn't matter that they were on those champs, because I think our draft planning was just really good.
Yeah, for sure. Also talking about the draft, what made y'all look towards Jarvan as opposed to some other picks that people have been seeing, like Skarner?
We wanted Jarvan because it gave us a lot of engage, and it gave us a lot of lockdown with the Vladimir flanks, and then also with Galio, and also it gave us something a little bit more bruisier to because they didn't really have much damage, so we want something a little bit tankier that could also heal some, and then he was pretty good at everything we wanted him to do.
So, looking forward to your, a couple of games I want to ask you guys about. So, you're next up against the Seton Hall Pirates. How are you guys feeling about your chances against them?
Well, we beat them in the first game of the split, and I think we're hopeful that we'll beat them again, but we're not taking any game lightly. We've prepared, and we're excited to play it.
Awesome, for sure. I had one question, and it's a very specific question. What, and this might be my inexperience with the top lane, because I'm mostly a support player. Was there a reason you went for the Cull as your first back, as opposed to maybe a more offensive item?
Yeah, well, Ornn into Irelia, Ornn can never win unless he gets Bramble first, and then he'll win between Bramble and Bork. So if I can accelerate myself to getting Bork as fast as possible, I'm going to do that. Plus, when I got the solo kill with Dorn's Blade and the lifesteal from Cole, I could probably 2v1 Ornn and Sejuani at that point, because I was ahead. So it's just all about making sure I can get to Bork as fast as possible, so I'm always winning the lane. And I was already winning at the beginning, so that's why I went Cole.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Of course. Was there any sort of picks that surprised you out of University of Connecticut?
No, I think we were. I mean, I wasn't expecting the Ashe, but I think for the most part, we had a good idea that they were going to play a tank top, either a tank support or Yuumi if we left it up, and then we were pretty sure they'd pick Vel'Koz. I wasn't sure that they'd pick Ashe or Kai'Sa. He played Samira last week, so I thought maybe he'd pick that again. So I guess that's the one spot I was not too sure what they'd pick, was that Ashe.
Okay. So we're just awaiting confirmation on our second streamed game, because we've had a cancellation on the first, but it's looking quite possible that it's going to be your team at Butler versus Seton Hall. Can you promise us now, Levi? Can you promise us as dominating a win in game 2 as there was in game 1?
Yeah, I'll promise that we'll win this next game too.
Okay, I'll hold you to it, and if you don't, I'll blast you on Twitter. I'll make a call out post.
All right, at LeviH03. There you go.
Well, Levi, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there, before we send you off, did you have any shout outs you want to give out?
Shout out to my team, and shout out to my family back home who's watching. They watch every week, so I appreciate them.
Nice.
All right, guys, so we will be back with our second game. Currently, it's looking like it's going to be Butler versus Seton Hall, so you get to see lots more of Levi in your life, and he's promised You heard it here first. It's gonna be another win, not just a win, a dominating win as well. So you don't want to miss it. We'll be back with EGF as soon as we've got that game 2 for you. So stick around, and we'll see you soon.